Hey guys, how are you? And in this video we're going to talk about stateless widgets and stateful widgets. What's the major difference between them and how do they work? We are going to cover all of these things. Also, we are going to create this app which includes a app bar over here. What it does is it has a counter on the screen, and whenever one of the buttons on the bottom right corner is pressed, some action happens over here on the counter. Let's suppose that we press this button on the extreme right, the counter will increment by 1. The button in between will reset the counter to 0, and the button on the extreme left will decrement the counter by 1. So let's begin with the coding part, and with coding itself I'll explain to you what's the major difference between stateless and stateful widgets and what's the major difference between their working. For the time being, what I want you to know is, okay, let's first create the project and then talk about it. To create a project, it's a simple command, flutter create, whatever the name you want to give to your app. I'm gonna give it my counter. Yep. So it's installing some dependencies, and so while this happens, I want to explain to you the major difference between stateless and stateful widgets. So the thing with stateless widgets is that it cannot change its state. It cannot re-render itself. It cannot rebuild itself. Now, what does all that means? So what that means is that class has no provision, that widget has no provision that it could alter the state of the class or alter the integer value or reassign the integer value or change the state of the class. This might sound a bit complicated right now, but as we make this app, it will get more clearer and clearer. So let's go to our code editor and go to the directory which is just created with the name of our app. Let's go to the main.dart in lib directory. So this is the code for the very first app which you get whenever you create a project. So what I'm gonna do is to delete all of this. So now let's start with writing the code, and as usual, the very first thing is gonna be importing a Flutter library. The library we are gonna import is material.dart. So I've already explained about this library in the previous section, so you should, I guess, consider watching that videos too. And the next part of our code is gonna be our main function. So main function, and this is where the execution of a program begins. And it calls a function named run app, which takes a parameter of a widget. Yeah, so we are done over here, and don't worry about that error we are getting on the run app function. It will disappear as soon as we define the class. Let's make a class named app which extends stateless widgets. Yep. So over here, it's a classic example of object-oriented programming. What we are doing is we are extending, or we are inheriting a class from a base class stateless widget. So we are getting an error over here. Let's see what it says. It says that missing concrete implementation of stateless widget.build. What that means is whenever you extend stateless widget or stateful widget, we need to give a build method. So let's make a build method. Yeah, this is our build method. Now we have got the error on build method. Let's see what it says. It says that the function has return type of a widget, but it doesn't ends with the return statement. So let's first of all mark it as return, mark its return as widget, And now let's return something called as material app. So material app is the root of your app, and still we have got an error over here. And let's see what does it says. It says app.build isn't valid override of stateless widget.build. So why does it says that is because in the build function we need to give input of a parameter of something called as build context. You don't need to worry about what is build context right now. It will be very relevant in the coming up videos, in the coming up apps we are going to make. But right now, just remember that it's a part of syntax, and whenever you create a build method, you need to pass this as a parameter. Okay, so now let's make our rest of the app. This material app has something, some property called title. So let's assign title as my counter. Yep. And another thing this material app has is home. And this home is the you have to pass a scaffold to this home property, and which has to be displayed on the screen. So let's pass a scaffold. Yep. Or it's not necessary to pass a scaffold. You can pass any other widget which can be displayed on this screen. So this scaffold in turn has a property of app bar. So let's see how do we need to make the app. The very first thing we need to do is to get a scaffold. Yeah, we have got a scaffold, and now we need to put this app bar, this counter value, and these three buttons on the scaffold. Let's see how to do that. So we have got an app bar property over here which takes input of preferred size widget. That means we can give a various inputs over here, but the most preferred input over here is the app bar. App bar is a widget pre-built in Flutter, and this also takes a property named title as input. So let's give the title as text, and let the text be, let's say, my. So this is the title. This is the title which will be displayed on the app bar of your scaffold. So yeah, so let's run the app on our device and let's see how does it looks right now. So for running it's simple. All you need to do is a simple command, Flutter Run. Okay, not in this directory, in your projects directory, and that is over here, and it's Flutter Run. So let me start my emulator. So yeah, I've started my emulator over here. So let's add some more functionality to this app. So let's see what else we have in this scaffold. Let me adjust the code editor, and yeah, so now this scaffold has a property of body. So body is everything apart from this app bar. So let's give in this body as let's say a column. Yep. And a column is a widget which takes in multiple widgets as input with it has a property of children. Yeah, so on this body we want a text to be displayed over here and another text to be a counter. So let's first hard code the counter. Text, and let the text be the value is this. Okay, and in the very next line we are gonna hard code the value of counter as 0. So now let's reload this and let's see. Oh, it's a spelling error. Yeah, so we have got a text over here, but it's not the way we want it to be. And so let's align it in the center of the screen, and we need to think of a method how to align it. So the first thing we should do is to wrap this column in another widget called center, and using VS Code we can directly get an option like this. So yeah, let's see what this does. Yeah, it has got our text in the middle of the screen, and now we have a property for column called as main axis alignment. The main axis for a column is vertical and for a row it's horizontal. And let's align the main axis, let the main axis alignment for the column be center over here. And what we're saying over here is, on this vertical line, align this column in the center. That's what we want to say. So let's reload it. Yeah, we've got it over here, but the text is very small and it's not very good looking. So let's modify it a bit. Let's add some style to it. So we can add style with a style property we have for text widget, and style property takes in another widget called as text style. This text style has got various properties. By the way, you can get these options by pressing Control space for each and every widget. So what we need to do is to choose font size, and let's make the font size as 25 and save. And let's do the same for this. Text style, font size as 25. Now let's hot reload. Yeah, we have got a goodly not good looking, but yeah, a bigger text over here, bigger in context of size of font size. And now what we need to do is to add these add those 3 buttons over here. So what we can do over here is, where this center ends, we have a property for scaffold called as floating action button. We can give a input of a row over here, and this row is just same as column, just the thing is it's vertical, horizontal, and the column is vertical. So exactly like column, it can also take multiple inputs with a property named children. So let's use that property, and let's give in 3 floating action button. Yep, we have. Okay, let's copy this cause I'm fucking lazy. Yep. So let's hot reload it now and let's see what happens. Okay, so we have got 3 floating action button over here, but they don't look very good. So let's align them using main axis alignment again. And this time what we are going to do is main axis alignment dot end. So what we are saying is that we want this row to be aligned at the very end of the space. That means over here we have this whole row, so we want to align all the items we have on the extreme end of the row. So let's see what it does, and let's hot reload. Oh, it does. Okay, we haven't saved. Let's yeah, we have got it over here. But now the thing is, we don't have much space in between, so we have something called a sized box for space, and let's give it a width of 8. Yeah, that would be perfect, I guess. And auto formatting kicks in. Sized box again, and width is same 8. Put this comma over here. Yep. And now let's reload. Okay, it looks cool, but we are still missing out something, and that is the icon over the floating action button. So there's a property for floating action button called as child. We can use that and provide various icons for the action buttons. And how do we do that is like this: icons dot, it's the very first one, so it should be removed. Yep. And let's just copy this thing, Control C, cause we are lazy, and Control V. And what we want over here is a refresh button. Yeah, let's add a comma for formatting to kick in. Yep, it looks good. And over here also we are gonna add a add icon instead of remove. So yep, I guess we are done with our code, and let's see. Yep, we have got our UI built. And now the thing is, how do we alter the value of this counter? So first of all, let's declare a counter. So it should be counter equals to 0. Yep, correct. And over here, instead of a hard-coded value, let's give input of a variable like that. Perfect. Yep, now this is where a stateless widget restricts us or is constrained. We cannot alter the value of this thing, this counter over here, in a stateless widget. So what should we do? So what we can do is to convert this stateless widget into a stateful widget. But how do we do that? One thing we can try is to directly switching from here. Let's try that. So we have got an error over here, and it says something, and I know why is it wrong. And so let's first switch it back to stateless, and we'll see how to convert it into a stateful widget in the very next video, as the video is growing to be very lengthy. So see you in the very next video.